Hey, good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever the time is where you are. I hope you are doing well. If it's your first time here, hi, hello, welcome. It's Nigerian XJW Speaks, otherwise known as Chigo. And I'm a former Jehovah's Witness from Nigeria, and maybe since around last year, I've been making videos about the journey of me making my way out and what that's been like, and I try and do a few videos over the course of a month. Now, for the regulars, hi, I see you, fam. I wasn't here last week because, well, simply put, we have some work to do. It was a tough week mentally. I was just not up for coming online, but here we are here, so we are going to chat today. If you like what you hear, give the video a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed already, please feel free to do so. It costs nothing, and what it does is help more people see these, especially people who are questioning, and just to add to the voices out there that are supporting people that are making their way out or questioning or looking into leaving this religion. So that's the intro out of the way. Welcome to all the new subscribers. I see that there's been quite a few in the last few weeks, so it's great to have you here. Right, what I wanted to talk about today, as you may see from the title, is about how to pick the pieces back up after you've left this religion, after it literally collapses under you. A lot of this is from personal experience. Some of this I'm still working on. It's an ongoing journey. And for my subscribers in the US, I feel like this is apt for you as well. Especially with the events of the was it just this week? It all happened so quick. It was just this week that you had your inauguration. It feels like the start of a new era. And if there was any of you who were rooting for something else, it's done now, and it's about picking those pieces back up and reassessing what happened. I've got a drink today, my giant mug of coffee, which is just feels nice to have. Okay, I am rambling. I've put down 10 points. Take of it what's useful. Anything that isn't useful for you, leave it on the table. It's absolutely fine. But I've put down 10 points. So the first thing in the process of building back up, refining your foundations, I think it's important to acknowledge that the world around you has collapsed. If you were born into this religion like I was, it's everything you know. It's your whole life. And when that goes, it is your foundation being ripped apart. And it's important to acknowledge that. Acknowledge that first of all, and know that it's okay to be shaken up. I was so shaken. I felt like I was losing my mind. And the fear of, now what? If everything that I adhered to, everything that I thought, I now no longer believe in it, then what is there? So it's okay to be shaken. It's okay to feel completely rocked. It's okay to feel lost. It's a big thing that happened. It's your whole life that's been sort of uprooted. So acknowledge that. It's okay, because that is what then opens the way for you to build it back up. But acknowledging that it's collapsed, that's when you can build it. If you don't, there's probably not a chance of building it back up if you still think that there's something there, okay? And the next point that sort of leads off of that as well is allowing the emotions that follow from that. I have a video which I'll try and link here. I think it was something about 2 years. I don't know what it's called now, but I'll link it here. It was essentially about the emotions that followed that process. The anger, the fear, all of that. Allow them flow. Don't suppress it. Don't suppress any of it. I know when we're in this group, we're Jehovah's happy people, and so we're happy all the time, and that's the sort of emotion that's encouraged, but there's others out there. And so allow them all. If you have family that are shunning you, that is a big deal. So allow it, because that again is part of the healing, is part of the getting the foundations right for going on to what's next. The third point I've got on there is try to remember who you were before the religion. Now, that may be difficult for people who were born into it. So if you came in as an adult, if you have memories of what you were like before you joined this group, I would say start reconnecting with that. I've got some notes, that's why I'm looking down. Start trying to remember who that person was, and try and reconnect with that person. Now, you may not like everything about that person, but there'll be things in there. You can start again. You can pick out the good bits and go from there. So try to recollect who you were before you joined into it. If you were born in like I was, you might have to reparent yourself, almost like starting again. Because in a lot of ways, the personality that we think we are, it's heavily manipulated. It was heavily controlled. It was heavily directed, guided, and manipulated, not to your own advantage, but to please the group. I mean, it is normal. It is the job of our parents to try and take us down a certain path, but usually they're doing it purely for what's good for you, without deference to an organization. So you almost have to sort of go back and do that. Assume you know nothing and sort of start the process of reparenting yourself. That is a long process. I'm still on that journey. But it's almost like you have to try and start from a blank canvas and build who you are, if that makes sense. Point number 4, reading different materials is your friend. Now, we know that when we're in this religion, what materials we can read, watch, listen to is heavily controlled. And so getting comfortable with reading different perspectives on things, that is going to be something that will serve you well. Not only in the fact that it keeps you busy, but it's also growing your mind. That process of reparenting, relearning a lot of things that maybe you should have learned in normal circumstances, years beforehand. But it's sort of getting comfortable with getting that information now, reading widely, getting different perspectives of things with an open mind as well. And I know it's hard. I know it's hard because when you're raised in a group that, it's quite black and white in terms of thinking, you're wrong, you're right, there's no nuance, gray areas, it can be quite a challenge, but it's important to read different perspectives and get comfortable with having different perspectives on things. Point number 5, which sort of leads onto that as well, and I think this is a very important one, absolutely, is the studying how-to of critical thinking, where you immerse yourself in learning how to fact check things, how to determine whether something is true or not. It's important to not get caught up again in the what to think, because this is what we're raised to do. We are told what to believe rather than how to arrive at those conclusions in a method that makes sense, that's reproducible, that's critical thinking. So if there's anything that you're going to learn about, I would say critical thinking. There's a great channel, JW Critical Thinkers, here on YouTube. There are a couple. I loved your videos. I love, I think that's probably one to check out regularly. So it's just that process of asking questions without someone telling you what to think, but the how to, so that you can arrive at your own conclusion. The point with that I would emphasize as well is having the humility throughout that process to know that you don't know everything, that you don't have all the answers. Nobody does. And for some of us, that might be a foreign concept, because there is a lot of certainty that this religion tries to give you, not in yourself, obviously, but in their doctrine, in their teachings, and it's absolute fact. And, we don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. But if we have a way of coming to conclusions based on the evidence with a method of actually assessing it, then what we can arrive at is our best conclusions based on the information we have at the time, with an openness to change our minds if different evidence presents itself. Anyway, so critical thinking, that is so crucial, because, and I think it's Sister Fister that mentioned this, people like us who have left this group, we have a tendency to be sucked into other things that are similar to this. And it'll be interesting research, the sort of wiring in the brain of people that tend to go for things like this. I don't want to call it gullible, but a tendency to believe things without checking properly, and the last thing you want to do is leave one high control group and get into another one. If you know how to think, how to examine things, chances are you're not going to be caught up in something like that. So, and I'm hammering on this because it's so important. It's one of the things that catches us out as former members. Being able to keep an open mind, think critically, and not get sucked into something else. Okay, finally moving on. Point number 6. Replacing JW rituals with other things. Now, if you know anything about this group, they have a lot of routines, monotonous things that they do day in, day out, week in, week out, almost like a zombie-like state, and you're just doing these things on repeat. And it can be a hard habit to break, especially if you've done it for decades. I know how it felt when I first stopped going to the Kingdom Hall. Even though I wanted to, even though it was painful to be there, the routine of not going there, it was so strange. And so you want to replace those rituals with things that uplift you, things that edify you, things that are about you, things that center you. Because a lot of the time, self-worth, self-esteem doesn't come naturally to some of us from a group like this, because when you're raised to think that you're a good-for-nothing slave, right? And you are nothing without this group. Rituals or taking on new habits that are going to challenge that are going to show you the value of you, that's not going to consider you as good for nothing, but actually there for your good, for your wellness. And so, replace those. And that's going to go back to one of the earlier points, which is recollecting who you were before you left. What were the things that you enjoyed? What were the things that made you feel good? And for someone like myself who didn't have a life before this religion because you were born in, it would be a case of starting afresh. What do you like? What's fun for you? What's enjoyable for you? That could change. That could stay the same. It's all good. It's okay. But it's identifying what those things are and making that part of the new rituals. It's going to be different for everyone, so I'm not even going to try and go through a list, but find out what those are and use those to replace the time that you spent in perpetual monotony doing the witness activities day in, day out, week in, week out. Point 7, which sort of leads off of that, is that also then, depending on what activity you're choosing to replace the rituals with, if it's something that's social, that might give you an opportunity to meet people with shared interests, people that enjoy the same things. And meeting new people is going to be an important part of life. If you are someone that's been shunned, this might just be what you need, right? To meet new people in your life that are going to care about you, that you have something in common. Hopefully people that don't need you to subscribe to some certain interpretation of however many thousand-year-old book, but people that will accept you for you and who you are. And that might be a chance to meet new people, which is something that's going to be beneficial to building back the foundations again of your life. So point number 8, so this is for those people who have left but still maintain a belief in God. Can you close the door, baby? Yes, Mommy. Okay, thank you for the kisses. Right, so if you still believe in God, I would say rethink what that means for you, what the person or the character of God means to you. While this might not be me, I would think that if there is a God, it should be someone that is for you, someone that is on your side, not stifling you, not wanting you to accept things that just go against judgment and good sense. I mean, you know your reasons for why you left and what your understanding of what that God character should be. Just take some time reassessing what that means, because while that might not be me myself, I have people in my life who their faith is something that seems to be a positive thing for them, that it actually makes their life better. And if you're going to believe in God, then it should do that. It should make your life better in tangible ways. So if you're still maintaining that belief, reassess what that means and make sure that it's something that is beneficial for you and not working against you. Now, point number 9 is the other side of the crowds, people like myself who lost a belief in God as well in that process. Now, that's even harder. That's even harder because it's not just a case of there's an organization that is that you've lost faith in, confidence in. If you lose your faith and believe in the whole God concept as well, I feel like in some ways that's extra earth-shattering. Is an extra layer of foundation that's being ripped off of you. And so you're going to really need to dig deep. You're really going to need to dig deep with finding what your new foundations are going to be. And that's where that critical thinking is going to come in. It's going to be very uncomfortable. Hell out uncomfortable, you know, because the God character is everything. And if you find yourself not believing in that as well, it's a lot. You will, well, maybe it's just me. You'll experience fear. You'll experience an existential crisis. What does this mean? So this is not so much, I don't know if this is a recommendation or more of a heads up that you are going to feel completely lost. But take your time, get comfortable with that feeling, but keep digging. Keep digging into what your foundation is going to be, what actually makes sense to you. You know, what are the things that are going to be your new center, your new foundation. Use that critical thinking, and I'm sure you get somewhere, but it can be a bit more challenging. And point number 10 to wrap up is just to say, keep learning. Keep loving yourself or learning to love yourself if you've not done that before, because it does happen. Yourself and others based on who they are, based on their actions, not based on what they believe, and try to have fun. And I know it's hard to think about that at the start, but there can be fun to be had. There is nothing like the freedom of being able to follow the evidence where it leads, think for yourself. You know, it can be quite exciting. You know, once the heavy, unsure emotions are processed or continue to be processed, it can be fun. Don't stop learning, don't stop loving, and find yourself, like, you know, figure out who you are outside of this. New foundations, you know, it can be an exciting time. Okay, so those were the 10 points that I had. The sun's in and out of the room, so excuse the noise. I want to know, what else would you add to this list if you're someone that has already been through this? Any other pointers you want to add, put that in the comment below, so people who are watching who are still in that journey themselves or yet to do it, they can gain insight from you as well. If you found anything particularly helpful, you know, let me know. Let's chat. Let's talk about it. And yeah, we can do it. It is possible to build foundations afterwards, and you know, it can take time. For some people it's quicker, for some people it takes a lot longer. You know, last week was one of those hard weeks, but here we are. We just dust ourselves off and start again. So I'm gonna let you go now before I start rambling. Like and comment if you like what you hear, and subscribe as well if you haven't done that already. I'll put some videos up here for you to go watch next, and then I'll speak to you on the next one. Oh no, wait, before I go, so next Sunday is the last Sunday of the month, which if you've been here for any length of time, you know that we have a live stream on the last Sunday of every month. So come and join me. We're going to talk about January, things that are happening, not just JW stuff, but anything that takes our fancy as well. It'll be great to have some of you on their live. Okay, that's me now. I'll speak to you soon. Take care.